Hello, Caroline.
Hello, Carla.
And hello, viewers. So a while ago, Caroline and I did a podcast, and we enjoyed doing it, but it didn't hit very well, did it, with the public? And I think most of the feedback we got was we want to be able to see you,
Yeah.
which is an odd choice.
But I was going to say, there's no accounting for tastes, is there?
Absolutely. But yeah, so people don't tend to enjoy the podcast as much as they enjoy the two of us sitting there ranting at each other face to face, it seems.
Yeah.
So here we are.
I think those who enjoyed the podcast enjoyed it, but we didn't get the uptake that we kind of hoped for, did we?
No. Your volume seems a little low to me, but it could just because I'm deaf as a post. Maybe I could turn my volume up so I can speak again.
Hello? Is that any
I've
better?
turned my volume up. I might just have had my volume down on my keyboard.
It could be that, yeah. Usually it's all right. Hang on, I might have covered the mic. I haven't got my separate mic out actually, so I don't know.
No, I'm using the one that's on the the inbuilt one.
Yeah, mostly because I was wholly unprepared.
Yes, I said to Caroline before we started recording, I said I couldn't be less prepared for this unless I'd accidentally fallen into a meat mincer this morning. That was the only way I could be less prepared. So, and yet we knew we were doing it. It wasn't a surprise. Nobody sprung it on us.
No, I think maybe because we asked for the question for people to. Do you want to say what we're doing first of all?
Today's discussion is going to be around the subject of retirement. It's an interesting subject for us as self-employed people, but also it's a subject it's a very changing scenery, isn't it, for a lot of people? Because, for example, when I was a child, I thought I would retire at 60. That was what I was given to understand, was that men retire at 65, ladies retire at 60, and that is no longer the case. So we thought it'd be an interesting topic to discuss and look at, and we asked you guys for your varying viewpoints on the subject. So we've got some feedback to share from you guys and to discuss.
You sort of missed a bit in the middle in terms of we did the podcast and we enjoyed it, but the audience didn't because they couldn't see us. So we've decided to do a little series of videos on specific subjects with audience input. So we did a discussion video about influencers on my channel, which we originally recorded in the car when we were together, but it ended up being like this because we had technical issues. And so you might have seen that if you watch my channel. And then we decided that we quite enjoyed this format again, where we're both in our own houses, but chatting online. And we decided to do a series of videos on specific subjects with you guys having your say as well. We'll ask you. And so on that note, if you've got any subjects that you would like us to discuss, feel free to pop them in the comments.
Throw them into the melting pot.
Yes, we've got some ideas, but so we're going to do, I think the loose idea, and it's very loose, we love a loose idea, is that we'll do one a month on my channel, one a month on Carla's channel, roughly, and see where we go from there, type of thing.
Yeah. I'll write a note to remind me of something later because my head is...
I have a literal bullet pointed list on my phone every day with things like shower on it.
I have pieces of paper which I lose and doesn't make my life any better.
No. Anyway, retirement. You all had thoughts.
Yes, so many thoughts. And I believe that you've got some of your thoughts marshalled. Am I correct? Whereas my thoughts are running around the hillside waiting for the shepherd to come.
My own thoughts on it are purely inside my head, which is pretty chaotic. It's a Friday morning as we record this, and Friday's quite a chaotic day in terms of my thought processes because it's late in the week, isn't it? So, no, I haven't got my thoughts marshalled particularly. However, I do have right next to this screen a list of all the comments that were left on my community tab by all the viewers, their own experiences of retirement, and it's quite interesting. So I want to share some of those as we go through it. Sorry, I completely missed that because my mother just texted me the most important piece of information, that my brother has put her trellis up.
Well, that's good news because I've been losing sleep.
It was more relevant than I've made it sound because we went shopping in B&M for some trellis with fake flowers on that she has up on her fence. And fake leaves and flowers. And she just put out anyway.
So is your mother enjoying her retirement? Yanking the subject back on track.
Yes.
Something that I did touch on in my ramble intro was that retirement age has moved, hasn't it? So, as I said, when I was a child, it was a known thing that men retired at 65 and ladies retired at 60, and it was a very odd thing that women, but even so, now I think the current retirement age for women is 67.
I think it is, yes.
And I think it's now the same for men, isn't it? I think didn't they bring the two in line together?
They probably aren't allowed to have them any different, are they?
Yeah. And what that means is
women have a higher life expectancy than men, so I can't imagine why men's should be older than women, really.
Yeah. And the thing is that I'm 51, Caroline's 62. Caroline, I believe, is 54.
You're so bloody funny. I'm not 56.
56, okay. So the point being that by the time we get there, it's probably going to have moved again. It's almost as though they keep on moving the goalposts, and I feel personally that I will probably never reach retirement age because of my state of health, because of the way that I've treated my body over the years. I think it's unlikely that I will live long enough to reach what the government deem my retirement age. I think think I'll die a member of the workforce.
Well, that's a nice optimistic view, isn't it?
The thing is, the Bible gives you 70 years and 10, doesn't it? You know what I mean? The average life expectancy was 70. That's increased over years, but with medical advancements, they've increased life expectancy. And now if you go at 70, they go, oh, we didn't have, he was only 70. But if you get to 80, they go, well, she's had a fairly good innings. So that last decade is the touch and go era. And if they shift retirement age into the touch and go era, chances are I won't get there.
I think the thing is, for us, I mean, this is one of the reasons we wanted to have this discussion, is that retirement seems quite a loose concept. We already work self-employed and work from home, and so don't have that going out to work thing. And I think for people, my best friend, for example, works full-time in the NHS in quite a senior position, and she loves the routine of work, the getting out of the house, the going to the office, the putting the office clothes on. And I think for people who do that, what I'm trying to say in too many words is that I think it would be an easier transition for us should we ever get to the stage that we do retire, because we are used to managing our own time, to being at home a lot more. And I think for my friend, particularly who's older than me and is thinking about towards the future of thinking of retirement, I think it will be a much bigger thing for her in terms of lifestyle change. And that came through a lot in the comments that the viewers left as well.
Yeah, a lot of people really struggle with the sudden change from feeling that every day had a routine and a purpose to feeling almost adrift and kind of, I think one of the phrases that somebody used was, what is the point of me now? What am I for? And instead of going into our retirement with the idea that we're looking forward to some time off, people are almost being made to feel that they are no longer worthy because they're not going off. And that's an interesting thing. Is that a societal thing? Has the government done that? Are we been taught to look on old people as a drain rather than that they're enjoying the fruits of their years, the fruits of their labors?
I think that's an interesting point, isn't it? I think certainly for our generation, we don't feel that. I think that my parents' generation, for example, and even the sort of slightly younger than that, worked really hard for their money and deserved their retirement.
I wonder if there's an element of the backlash against benefits culture, the backlash against the number of people who, in the eyes of the workers, the number of people who are doing nothing for their money. Has that given us a backlash against retirement people as well? Because now if you're not working, you're the problem. Is that?
I think it's possibly not so much of a societal thing, but people themselves. If you go from a full-time job where you feel you have purpose to immediately from that to retirement, you're going to feel a lack of purpose within yourself unless you've really planned for it. And I guess any big life change, which this is, you need to get your head round it and make plans for it.
Yeah, certainly financially these days, I think very few people can now exist on state pension. Very few people.
Absolutely, and that came through massively in the comments or the but people have written some really quite lengthy paragraph stories, their own stories, and the interesting disparity between people who work for civil service type jobs, who have been able to retire young because they have the index-linked pensions. And I mean, I think pensions have changed. You have to have a pension in every single job you go in now, don't you? That's changed since I left the actual employed
My
work.
pension knowledge, you could write on a thumbnail. That's how much knowledge I have. I could write it on my thumbnail. I have no knowledge of pensions. The only knowledge that I have is that currently you go into a job, you're automatically enrolled into that company's pension scheme, and your employer makes contributions as well as you making contributions.
Yeah.
That's the extent of my knowledge. I have no knowledge of private pensions, and furthermore, I don't have one.
No, I don't have a private pension. And our generation, until recently, that's recent legislation, I think, that employers have to enroll you into a pension scheme, because that never happened when I
I think that's within the last 5 years or so, I believe.
Yeah, and I think that's a real problem for our generation, because a lot of us don't have private pensions and have worked and can't see, the reality is you can't live on the state pension. Many stories from people.
Is that fair that the state pension has not risen in line with living costs? Is that how is that fair that you were told that if you paid in all your life you'd get your state pension and you'd be safe, and now you're being told that it doesn't matter how much you've paid in your life, if you haven't made other provision, you're not safe?
Absolutely, yeah, it's a problem, and I'm literally saying, I'm sorry, I'm just flicking through these comments trying to find some to read out.
I've got a comment here from Leslie Young, and she says, I retired on the 14th of December at the age of 68, only because my knees are so bad. I split my femur going up a ladder at work. I only get state pension and a bit of pension from work, which I'm still waiting for. I was given bad advice at the age of 50 and lost some of my work pension. Because I get a bit from work, I'm just over the limit to get extra help. I applied for disability allowance, but I was turned down. I'm practically housebound as I can't walk far. I'm very lucky that my family helped me. That's horrible, isn't it? Isn't that shit that you pay in all your life and you're told that you'll be okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I know Leslie as well. She's actually left a comment, very similar one, so I knew her story, and just horrific, isn't it? I know she's worked full time up till very recently. She's
retired at the age of 68, so she's done 8 years past the point where we expected that we would stop. Because like I said, we thought we'd stop at 60, so she's done 8 years past that, and she's still, having paid in for those additional 8 years, having worked for those additional 8 years, having got to the point where she's physically unable to carry on, she's still struggling for money and relying on help from her family because the state isn't helping, because you earn too much. And that's it, those cut-off points, about that tiny amount that you earn that makes it too much for you to get this extra thing. And I realise there have to be cut-offs, but it must feel awfully unfair for those that are just over them.
Yeah, absolutely. Deborah Gardner says, I have to wait until 66 to get my state pension, which I feel really angry about. However, I decided to retire at 55 with just a small work pension and a little savings. I'm lucky to have a husband who pays most of the household bills, and I contribute where I can. And I think that really highlights, she then goes on to say she gets her state pension this summer, which will make her feel much more independent. But I think that really highlights single people who don't have a partner to rely on. It's going to be a real problem.
Yeah.
I think there is even now it must be a problem, but how long can people carry on working?
That's it. It used to be that if your state pension wasn't enough, you could get a top up from income support, and now they've phased out that and turned it all into universal credit. And universal credit is it's a whole other ball game that, again, I don't understand. I don't claim it, but everyone who's spoken to me about it, it sounds awfully complicated.
Yeah. And there's pension credit as well. Is that still a thing, or have the government taken that away now?
There is still pension credit, but again, I don't know how they decide how it works. It's really, really complicated, isn't it? Jilly Button says, I can't retire until I'm 67. I have a good pension forecast and state pension. I won't be rich, but I will be comfortable. My advice to anyone is to not opt out of a pension. If you can, skim some money into another account. So if you've got £65.98 in your account, skim the 98p into another account. It adds up and will help with the future you. Do not fall for pension investments you see in an email or by phone. If you want advice, talk to your bank. So yeah, Jilly's looking at being okay. But again, Jilly's looking at, I don't want to make Jilly feel worse, but Jilly, you're looking at being okay in the current financial climate. But things change so rapidly, don't they? The cost of living crisis, the rapid cost in things like electricity and gas in the last 5 years.
Food as well.
Yeah. So 5 years ago, what would have looked like being quite a comfortable retirement pot probably isn't looking the same now at all.
Absolutely, yeah. I think, but something else I wanted to mention, which a lot of people talked about, is how they have retired early or gone part-time earlier than perhaps they would have done in order to provide childcare for their own children, grandchildren, so their family can go to work. And I think there's a whole generation of retired people who are actually working as pretty much full-time child carers, which is quite interesting, isn't it? And unpaid child carers. I mean, obviously they don't want paying for looking after their grandchildren, but you do it out of love, don't you? But that is, it's effectively taking income out of people's pockets.
Yeah, well, all the hours that you spend doing any one thing are hours that you cannot spend elsewhere. If you spend that time providing free childcare, you then cannot spend that time earning money for yourself.
Yeah. On a slightly more positive note, let me read this one out, which is from Bronwyn Payne, who says, "Hi, Caroline. I spent a long career in teaching, which has afforded me a decent pension plus the state pension. I think you can never fully appreciate what a huge life change it is. For the first year, I used to sadly think about the girls at school and how much I missed them and the routine of putting on smart clothes and having a purpose," which we've sort of touched on already. Yeah. Then I discovered the world of volunteering, which has totally changed my life. I'm involved in helping 4 different organizations. It's wonderful to feel that life again has much to offer, but you have to be proactive.
Yeah, that's it. If you're financially secure enough, you're able to then go and look into voluntary work, and so that then you're looking to keep yourself busy and keep your mind alive rather than keeping body and soul together and keeping the roof over your head. It's all about provision, isn't it? And I'm genuinely worried. I don't, like I said, the only thing that makes me less worried is the fact that I don't think I'm going to live to a ripe old age, which is a bit. Imagine going on the plus side. At least I'll be dead. Imagine that being the bright side. On the bright side, it won't matter. I haven't got any money because I'll be dead, so I won't need any. But that's yeah.
This is an interest from Deanne Emily, who says, "I'm not planning on retiring, firstly because I can't afford to, but secondly, and luckily, I absolutely love my work and hope to be able to continue doing it for a very long time. If I ever win some money, I would work less or maybe a bit differently, but I can't see that I'd ever retire." That sort of echoes how I feel about what bear in mind, I'm in a very privileged position in terms of I do a job that I really enjoy. I like doing what I do on YouTube. I enjoy doing the eBay stuff. And I am flexible enough to be able to take time off when I want and all of that good stuff, which makes a massive difference. But I can't see myself ever completely giving up either of those. I mean, they'll change, obviously, as I get older and more decrepit. But
there's a huge difference, isn't there, between wanting to retire and needing needing to go on. I probably won't reach retirement age, but if I could carry on doing what I'm doing, I'm probably okay with that. As long as I'm able to carry on doing YouTube, as long as I'm able to carry on earning my living the way that I do, then it won't bother me if I can't retire. So we are very privileged that this is although it's taken many, many years to build it to the point where it provides any kind of income, we're very privileged that it's not a physically demanding job. YouTube is not, I don't have to climb a mountain to make a video. I don't have to.
Absolutely. I mean, for jobs that are physical, there'll definitely be limitations as people get older, and you couldn't be a dustbin man for the rest of your life, could you? Because that's hard on everything, isn't it, physically?
That ties in very nicely to Mel Brown's comment that she sent me on Instagram. So she says, "Hi Carla, hi Mrs. M. I'm 63 and absolutely furious about pensions. Briefly, I started work at 16 in a pottery firm as a freehand gilder paintress, trained and worked 25 years until the industry collapsed and closed. I went on to do other physical jobs until being made redundant in lockdown. My argument is that at 16, I was told you can retire at 60. I paid in for 44 years, only having very brief maternity leave, only to arrive close to the age of retirement for it to be 67. I think that when you have paid in 40 years plus, you are entitled to your old age pension. It's okay for someone who's never done physical work to say, work on, why retire? Quite frankly, because I'm knackered, to be blunt. I'm still working part-time, very, very begrudgingly. I feel robbed by governments to what I see as rightfully mine. And I think that's a really strong point, that, that if you've been in a physical job all these years and you've gone, thank God I'll be able to stop one day, to have those goalposts moved.
Absolutely.
And to wonder how long can I physically go on doing this? How long can I? And obviously, traditionally, men have done more physical jobs than women, but because of the demographic of our channels, I think the majority of our responses are from women, so we don't get the man's side of it. But I looked at my friend Debbie's her ex-husband now. He was a pipe layer on a building site, and there was an age gap between them, so he always looked a bit older than her. But he aged much before his time. He looked much older than his years, and it was the physical demanding nature of his job.
Absolutely.
And yet he was crawling towards retirement with the goal in sight. It was like, one day I'll be able to stop. One day I'll be able to stop. So to have that moved, when you physically think, I don't know how long I can physically go on doing this, and you keep on telling me I've got to do more, despite the fact that you've paid in all those years, it must be soul destroying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's not just one government that's done this. This is a series of governments over years. You can't just say it's this party or that party. It's a series of governments that have basically said you have to keep on working until you die.
Yeah.
We've gone again.
Well, that was bleak, wasn't it? This one's from Christine Ward, who says, hi, Caroline. I did plan to work till I was 70, but unfortunately the company I worked for relocated and I was made redundant at 68. For the first 9 months, I hated not going to work. I was terribly depressed and just couldn't pull myself out of it. This is my second year of retirement. I feel so much better this year. My husband works 3 days a week, so it's a nice balance of work and being at home for both of us. I get my cleaning, laundry done, etc. on the days he's at work. Then we can enjoy the 4 days together doing things we love. And I think that's quite a nice hybrid, isn't it? And I wonder if we will see more of that going forward for the reasons that you've just outlined, financial reasons. People maybe once they do get to eventually to stay pension age, being able to or choosing to work full time as well to top up, not choosing necessarily, maybe you have to top that up. And so going to a hybrid of work and retirement, sort of part time, I guess, which may be a good way.
Relating to that comment, I wonder if the first year the poster was so unhappy about it because it had been forced upon her, whereas the second year she's more reaching the point where she was going to be doing it anyway. So the resentment's gone.
Yeah, I guess it was a mixture of the having it forced upon her and not being prepared mentally. Yeah, I think what we sort of mentioned earlier is that it's a massive life change, isn't it? And a lot of comments, a lot of people have talked about how they felt lonely and they really missed that sort of going into the office or the hospital or wherever you work and seeing your colleagues and chatting about what was on telly last night and where you're going on holiday and what you're doing at the weekend, all that sort of stuff, that human contact. And I have to say that when I first went full-time reselling and was at home all the time and gave up my final part-time job, I really missed that. I found it quite a hard adjustment. I really relied on online friends quite a lot at the time. It took me a while to be used to it.
See, I am the other way. I've recently gone back into working outside of the home. I had a period, I used to work evenings, and then I had a period at home, and I really enjoyed that. And I've recently gone back into working outside the home, and now I work daytimes 9 to 5, 4 days a week, and I hate it. I hate having to go to work 9 to 5. I liked managing my own time. I liked waking up in the morning going, what have I got to do today? And then ordering it into the order that suited me. Whereas now I'm like, okay, I've only got this X window of time before I have to be in this place for this many hours. I hate it.
Do you not think, though, that there is an element? I don't disagree with you. I wouldn't particularly want to go out into employed work again. I think I'm pretty much unemployable, to be perfectly honest, but that's another story. But you live in a busy household full of people coming and going all the time. There's always someone to chat to. Imagine
Yeah,
if
I
you
relish the times when everyone's out, actually. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, but would you so much if you're in the house all the time by yourself, apart
Yeah,
from the
exactly. I
evenings?
feel the other way round. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be different.
Mm.
But I do get what you say. I love it when I have a quiet house to myself, but equally I like it. I'd like a little bit more interaction. But I've got used to it now.
Mm.
And I'd get myself out and see friends and do stuff and keep
Yeah.
myself busy. Talk to my camera.
That's it. Having YouTube does help, and you never feel quite alone, do you? Because pick up and I talk to my camera like I am talking to the viewers, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm not the camera over. I go, well, now why have you done that? You're all on the floor now, you know.
Yeah.
I've got a message from Helen,
Mm.
and she says, I can't afford to retire. I'm an ex-military wife, and so I have gaps in my national insurance where I follow my husband around different areas of the UK and abroad, and therefore I have gaps in my employment. I've been told I won't get a full pension. I will have to keep working until I can no longer cope, and then I will be on the most basic benefits. I'm so scared of my future. I see friends who have paid off mortgages and talking about early retirement, and I'm so sad as that won't be the case for me. And that's another element, isn't it? And that Helen's employment was affected by her husband's employment. And presumably if he's now she's put I'm an ex-military wife, and I don't know whether that means he's ex-military or she's no longer his wife. I don't know where the X falls in that sentence. So it'd be interesting at the difference. Presumably, if they are still together, he now has a military pension, but she will be reliant upon him financially. But if they're not together, then her dedication to his career has affected her future.
Yes, absolutely. That's a really difficult one, isn't it?
Hmm.
What would be the first? Because if you thinking of military wives, you don't get a chance to work in a lot of instances, or
Yeah.
you're moving around the country or different countries even.
Yeah, you either have to be apart from your husband so that you can stay in one location, or you have to accept that you could be moved very, very suddenly, can't you? Yeah, they can be moved on with very little notice.
Is there not an army pension though? Would you not be entitled to that? Do the army have widows' pensions, don't they? I feel like I need more information about that one.
Yeah, I don't know how. I don't have enough knowledge on that. I don't know how it works for.
No, I don't.
No, but it's a shame that she's left dreading her future, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. This is from Barbara Lake, who says, a really interesting topic. I retired 8 years ago at 66. I don't know how anyone survives on the state pension alone. Luckily, I have another 2, which helps. Obviously, you do have to think more about how you spend your money. I was worried I'd miss work, but I love every minute of retirement. I also feel as you get older that simple things give you much more pleasure. Purely my personal opinion, but in general, I feel women adapt to retirement better than men. Enjoy every day while you can. There was the comment about women adapting better than men, which I was quite interested to sort of follow up on there. I believe that women adapt to almost anything better than men.
Yeah,
which is a very sexist.
Do women adapt better to retirement than men because women are more used to because the home is theirs? So I think, in my opinion, men often feel like visitors in their own home. Men often feel that the woman has perhaps chosen the decor and she's decided where the furniture is going to be, and she has perhaps done the bulk of the cleaning. And again, not in every case, but I'm generalizing. And that men tend to spend a lot of their lives going, I don't mind, you choose. I don't mind, have whatever it is you want, because women have more forthright ideas about decor, as I said, and things like that. And so men just tend to coast through life and then when they retire and they've got to spend more time in that home that they didn't necessarily build, they feel like an imposter rather than a visitor. Then they feel like, and And of course, traditionally years ago, your chap used to get out into the garden. He used to go and dig his vegetable garden, or sit in his shed, or go down the allotment, or go to the pub, and all of those things are gone. All of those things
are gone. What? People still dig their gardens?
Most people don't grow vegetables anymore. Growing vegetables is a much less common thing than it used to be. A lot of front gardens.
Is that true?
I think so. A lot of front gardens are now given over to driveways because we have so much more cars.
That's true. Yeah.
Where people would have a front garden with a herbaceous border, they now have a driveway. So all of these socio-economic changes alter the way that we spend our free time, and also a lot of men have had less free time because they have had to work harder and for longer, and so they haven't had a garden. They've had a television that they've slumped in front of because they're knackered. So when you look at the difference between what men do now and what men did 80 to 100 years ago with their spare time, and certainly now even more modern generations who are men are gamers now quite into their middle age. Men carry on being a gamer. That didn't exist 50 years ago. Being a gamer. What I mean is, I think I've kind of lost my way a bit, but what I'm saying is that perhaps for men, when they retire, if they're a gamer, it's probably fine. They probably just retire and carry on gaming. But men who got out of the home because the home wasn't their comfort zone and are now thrust into the home and it's still not their comfort zone must feel very odd, I think. I think that's where I came in at the beginning of this, but okay. I do have a tendency to ramble.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point. I was going to add to it as well. Going back to Barbara saying I feel like women adapt to retirement better than men. I was going to add to that I think women adapt to their partner dying much better than men as well. And I say that from the point, I was discussing this with my mother actually earlier this week. I've been up to visit her, and my mum's 82, had to think about that, didn't want to say 83, didn't want to offend her. And she obviously has, my dad's been in a home, and there was a lot of elderly people in there, and she has a lot of friends of a similar age who, sadly, she is of an age now that people are losing their partners. And I would say that the women in her circle of friends adapt far more easily to widowhood than the men. Widowhood, is that the right word? Yeah. Than the men do. I think that men have really struggled.
Again, I think it's because of traditional roles, because despite the fact that we are now, we're all equal and everybody can, and there's no reason why you shouldn't load the dishwasher, love, women still take the traditional role within the household overarchingly most of the time, I would say. And therefore, when your husband dies, you still carry on doing the things you've always done. You carry on loading the dishwasher, loading the washing machine, doing the ironing, whatever it is you did. You just do it for one person instead of two. But for a chap, when his wife dies, if she has taken that traditional role, he's got to learn a whole new ball game. He's got to discover that putting your shirts into the laundry basket isn't how they get clean. Yeah. That's not how they get clean, and he's got to, and so you do see an awful lot of retired men saying, I don't know how to work the washing machine. I don't know how to do this. I didn't need to do it because she just did it.
I think you might be getting some flack for stereotyping gender roles in the home.
I think, whilst I am stereotyping gender roles, I think traditionally people still do that. It still lives that, and not everybody, obviously not everybody, but certainly we're still looking at that age group now, which are currently retired. The generations that are coming up, I think they'll have a different experience.
Yes, agree.
Anthony knows how to work the washing machine, and if and when he retires, whether or not he's widowed, he will still know how to work the washing machine, because we are the generation that have brought our kids up to expect to take an equal share in stuff. But the generation above us, which are the current retiring generation, yes, are still a bit more traditional. They're still our parents. They're still,
Yes, you've dug yourself out of your hole now. That's fine.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I did say that I was generalising, and like I said, I'm looking at the generation that are currently retiring rather than what's coming up in advance.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, let's be in 50 years.
Sorry. No, I do agree. Laurie Hart's Makeup has left a comment. She's American. I thought it'd be interesting to look at it from a different point of view from the UK. She says, excellent topic, as I'm grappling with this right now. I'm American, and I know this really isn't an issue in other countries, but the high cost of healthcare and insurance is the main reason that keeps me from retiring. Personally, there's nothing I'd miss about corporate America. I won't miss the office politics, commute, none of it. I think the most important thing in retirement is to have structure in your day and keep active. So yeah, that in America, you've got the whole thing with healthcare. You know, we don't, much as we complain about the NHS, we do still have it to a certain extent, although we don't have dental care anymore, do we? But NHS dental, but I think, and the reason I'm talking about dental is I've seen another comment somewhere else from someone saying that they needed expensive dental work after they've retired, and that was a huge hole in their pension pot. And I don't know where
it's another interesting one, because my mother gets by okay. She has her state pension, and that's all she has: state pension and pension credit, and she gets by okay, and she feels relatively comfortable. But that's because she doesn't spend any money. She doesn't go out very much. She doesn't buy clothes. She's not interested in spending money. And it's not miserliness, it's just disinterest.
Yeah.
So if we go out, she'll buy lunch or whatever quite happily. It's not that she's penny pinching. She just doesn't. Spending money is not her thing. It never really has been. And
I suppose as you get older, your life, in the nicest possible way, shrinks, doesn't it? Yeah. You spend a lot more time at home. You don't go out as much. And so, yes, you're right. I guess you don't have the need for as much money. However, having said that, of course, you still want to be warm at home. You still want to be able to afford to put your heating on, don't you?
Yes, I'm always saying to her, have you got the heating on? And she's like, well, I turned it down. Why did you turn it down? Well, because it's expensive. Turn it back up. You've got enough money to pay for it. And this is the thing. She needs a tooth out. She said to me the other day, I suppose I'll have to go and get that tooth done. I was like, well, yes, if you've noticed a hole or whatever, get it done before you get the pain, because once you get the pain, you won't be able to concentrate, you know. And she was like, oh, but it was £90 last time. And I was like, yes, and it'll be probably £90 or maybe £100 this time. And you have enough money to have your tooth done and go and get your, oh, well, you used to be able to get it done for nothing. Yes, but Mum, you're going to have to accept that it's £90 and that's it. Okay, just do it. So yeah, she resents the paying for it because of course she never used to, you know.
I feel like the young. Not us, but just I'm completely segueing away from retirement here. But just you're talking about your mum and the frugalness, and my mum has that in her as well. And I think our generation do to a certain extent, but I think as you get younger, that I don't think they have that frugal.
Consumerism is much more
frightening
for generations coming up than it was for the generations above us, much more. And
getting food delivered.
Yeah, throwaway society, stuff like that. You know, I don't think my parents had a takeaway. And when I was a child, it wasn't a thing. Nobody ever came into our house with food that somebody else had cooked, ever. If we went to my nan's, she would buy fish and chips, and that was probably once a year and even then you'd stand in the chip shop working out how many fish you could have between you and stuff like that. It was just not done. So in modern day parlance, where you might eat out 3, 4, 5 times a week, me particularly, I have a terrible one. Not so much anymore, but I used to be dreadful for eating most of my food was prepared by somebody else because I was busy and I didn't want to and I didn't have to. And so that's a huge difference, I think, for the generations above us. They see that as very wasteful, and for the generations below us, you see it as normal.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And takeaway coffees and stuff like that. You know, that going out for a cup of coffee or to eat was, when I was a kid, was a treat, you know.
So retirement for those generations, if they haven't provided for themselves for retirement, is going to be a horrible shock when they discover that you cannot afford to do those things.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was nicely brought back to retirement there, because we were off in a different direction completely.
I've got one from Alison. And she says, I retired from nursing in June last year at 54. So that was early. I went a year earlier than planned as it was a horrible, unhealthy environment for me. I don't have a massive pension and still have a mortgage. However, I am happier and healthy, and I've learned I don't need much. So that ties into what we were just saying, doesn't it? It's taken me a good 6 months to find my feet and miss my work colleagues and the way nursing used to be when we could do our job. but I'm better with money and I enjoy every day. Just a few more years paying my mortgage, I'll have enough to buy a little house outright. I'm making money from reselling and set myself up as a little company with an accountant as I have my pension, so it's easier. I'm loving my stress-free life now. My best friend keeps telling me I'm lucky as I have my NHS pension, which makes me angry, really, because I worked hard for 25 years to earn it in a very stressful environment and my mental health suffered. So I'm not lucky, I just worked. I've worked since I was 14 years old, paperwork rounds, etc. And then it says I'm done. So it's interesting that Alison did 25 years for her pension and the other lady did 44 for hers and isn't as well off.
It goes back to what I was saying. Sorry to interrupt. Goes back to what I was saying, and I don't think I ever finished the point much earlier on about civil service and public sector pensions being completely different, specifically for our generation. I'm talking mostly because we didn't have employer pensions because it wasn't a legal thing, and I think those people who worked in the public sector are going to be a lot better off than those of us who didn't. The public sector pensions are very, very good, aren't they? And I'm absolutely not taking away from the fact that people work very hard in the NHS. You know, you're all entitled to whatever you get.
Just trying to check and see if I've missed anyone, because the problem with asking people to contribute is then if you miss out their contribution, they feel hurt. And I would just like to say that if we've missed you, it's not deliberate. It's just that I've got comments in 14 different places and I'm trying to find them all.
Can I read this one out? This is Star Perry, and this actually made me really sad. Said, what I miss about work is talking and socializing and having a laugh. I'm at home all day on my own with my little dog, no one to talk to. I can't get out of my own on my own. When hubby comes home, I'm ready to chat and he says I'm tired, I've been at work all day. He falls asleep at 8 p.m. every night. I go in the kitchen and cry, still no one to talk to. I get so lonely. I most want to stop reading it. That's really sad. She comments a lot, that lady.
She comments on mine.
Yeah, and I'm so sorry. I wonder if you could find something, I don't know, Luca, if you try Facebook for friendship groups. That's how I've made new friends recently. It's made a massive difference to my life. I've met
you made an active choice to go and find new friends, didn't you?
I think you have to be a little bit proactive. But of course, if you're feeling really low and down, you're not necessarily in the headspace to do that, are you? But it just, I don't know, I feel like
it's interesting that you did that. We're going to segue slightly off the subject, but looking for new friends. I was talking to Tammy about this, and she was like, "I don't have any hobbies," and I was like, "Maybe you have to find a new hobby, and then you find new friends." What did you do? What did I mean? You I know you go to a quiz night now, don't you? And that was a new thing for you.
Yes, it was. It was the local spotted Facebook pages. Somebody posted, I can't remember how it came about, but there was a lady who wanted to set up a friendship group for our town for people to make friends. And I got involved with that at the very outset of it. I went and met her and another lady talking about setting up this group. And then it was set up. In fact, there's a couple of different groups now. And I went on various coffee mornings and stuff to meeting, and it doesn't feel comfortable. It's not a comfortable thing to do, to walk into a cafe and sit at a table full of people you've never met before. I get that, but you know what,
knowing they're all there for the same reason must have helped.
Yes, A, they're all there for the same reason. B, if you don't like any of them, you never have to see any of them again. And C, when you've done it, you'll feel so pleased with yourself that you've done it, that it's worth
this would make an excellent subject for our next one. Making friends in later life, and how and do you do it? Have you done it? Do you wish you could do it? Do you think that would make a really good subject for next time?
Yeah, let's do that.
I think that'd be great. Yeah. So
I think we did that in a podcast, friendships and stuff, didn't we? Yeah. Let's do that.
Nice to get some feedback from other people about what they've tried and whether it worked out for them, and whether they've had any good experiences and bad experiences, stuff like that. I think that would be interesting.
For sure. I'll shut up now then.
I've got one from Nick. Nick Hills. Nick Hills reseller, just in case anybody doesn't know, but I'm sure you do. He says, we have been slowly looking at scaling back how much we do and trying to put things in place so that we can do less as we head into old age, he's putting quotations. I doubt we will ever fully retire, and I'm quite happy about that. I like to keep active and I love what I do anyway. We never paid into a pension, but we chose to invest our money into paying off the mortgage, which we achieved about 12 years ago. And we have plans in place to invest more in property and put things in place for later life. I can't imagine Nick ever retiring.
No, and I think that's the same of almost all the resellers that I know. I think you can carry on dabbling, can't you? It's a very good little side income, side hustle that you can.
Darren Smart says I would have retired at 18 if I could have afforded to.
Would he really though? I think you need a sense of self-worth. This is just me. Maybe everybody is different. I think I get a sense of self-worth and a place in the world from work. I am motivated by work. I get a lot of satisfaction from doing a good job. I quite enjoy the money. I'm not going to lie. That's nice, isn't it? Being able to pay your bills and eat and all that sort of stuff. Go on holidays. So yeah, I feel if I was completely retired, I would feel adrift in the world a little bit, as a couple of people have said.
And the next comment that I've got almost word for word. Mandy Jane, she says, I suppose losing your sense of purpose. I enjoy working and feeling connected with the world and the chats with my girly friends. Even though I'm 61, I still feel I've got a lot to give. And I worry that I would soon become lonely and isolated. So that's almost word for word what you've just said, isn't it? Yeah. And then other people are like, no, I'm retired and it's great.
Yeah, there was quite a theme. I haven't been able to read them all out because we'd be here all day, but there's quite a theme running through a lot of people's comments, sort of saying, I was feeling, I wasn't sure how I was going to get on with it, but once I'd, with retirement, I was feeling a bit difficult about it, but now I don't know how I found time to work before, and filling your time is quite easy, getting out and doing different things and, taking life by the horns, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, we're coming up to 50 minutes. By the time I edit some of the ums and ahs and us rambling off about goodness knows, it's still going to be quite a lengthy video. So we probably need to rein it in before people die of boredom. Wake up! All of you dozed off while we
Also, thank you to everyone who left comments and shared their stories, because it's a really good way of involving you guys in a video as well, and not just talking about our own experience of things. I really like this way of doing it.
Yeah, and let me just say again, if I didn't read your comment out, it's not. I haven't deliberately missed you out. It's just that there was so much feedback, and when we've read a comment out and discussed each point, it just becomes very lengthy. But please, if you haven't had your comment read out this time, please don't let that stop you from contributing again.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm not. There's no point, because they don't. I would hate that, And yeah, if we do the next one on friendships and making friends in later life, and maybe
just general friend, if anybody's got anything to say about friendship, female friendship, not necessarily even female.
Friendship. Is your best friend a bloke, and if so, how does that work for you? Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah
Are you a bloke, and is your best friend a woman? I tend to assume that all of our viewers are women, because I look at my stats on YouTube and I know that most of you are, but you're not all. So
right. Absolutely, not everybody.
Right, I have enjoyed this. My stomach is rumbling right now. I'm sitting here thinking, I wonder if people can hear my stomach rumbling.
Yes, it was fun. I hope the viewers have enjoyed it as well.
I hope so. Do give us some feedback. Do let us know whether you've enjoyed it, whether you prefer this kind of face on screen rather than the podcast, because that was what the feedback would tend to be on that.
They didn't like.
We'd love some feedback on whether you've enjoyed it.
Personally, I prefer it when we can't be seen.
Back over your head. And also, if you're not already subscribed to both mine and Caroline's channel, please do so. I will put the link to Caroline's channel in the description box below for you. And we'd love you to come along and join in and contribute and so on. And also on Instagram, I'll put Instagram handles in for you, because quite often if we ask for questions for stuff, that's where we do it most. So I'll make sure I put those in as well. And thank you, Caroline, for joining me and putting up with the slight technical thing at the beginning where I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing because I haven't done this for ages.
We're going to be experts at it now. Now we've both done one.
Okay. And we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye for now.